So I just saw Prey, and it was decent, but I'm not gonna lie, I was left a little bit disappointed. So this film is directed by Dan Trachtenberg, who previously made 10 Cloverfield Lane, which was a solid thriller if you ignored the totally unnecessary Cloverfield connection slapped onto the end of it. This follow-up film from him has been in development since 2016, and it certainly came with a very interesting premise. Essentially Comanche Indians versing that ugly mother. So this is a prequel to the Predators franchise. So full disclosure, I am not the biggest Predators fan, at least comparatively to Aliens, which I hold the first two films as some of the best science fiction films ever made. I can't say I have this connection with the Predator films, but I do admit the first Predator film stands up quite well as a nice 80s action film. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm actually a bit of a sucker for the first Alien vs Predator movie. I admit it's very trashy, but I feel like it has a lot of fun with the concept of pitting two of the most iconic science fiction creatures against each other. As for the other films, I didn't even finish the Shane Black film.
Eat your pussy.
Wait, what?
How you doing?
No, you just said eat your pussy.
Hey, how you doing?
No, you said eat my pussy. What the f is wrong with him?
So while Ridley Scott tries his hardest to tarnish the legacy of the Xenomorphs, Prey is an attempt to bring the Predator franchise some fresh blood. Yeah, I can't deny from its premise alone, I feel like it's definitely the right direction for the franchise. And definitely got this old cynic very curious. Unfortunately though, I did come out a bit disappointed. There's nothing here that's insultingly bad, and it's certainly the best solo Predator film since the original. But I mean, when you have to deal with these movies, that's kinda not hard. My problem with the film is how forgettable the whole experience feels. It has some really good moments in it, and even has a solid lead performance, but it gets bogged down by a very surprisingly cheap budget and a very predictable screenplay. So the story, and stop me if you've heard this one before, a young woman dreams of becoming a respected hunter like her brother. Her mother is pushing her to keep to a life of being a traditional mother figure to the tribe, but her ambitions are in the forest, on the front lines with the boys. Upon trying to scramble for food, she sees the arrival of a cloud formation that she perceives as a sign to her greater calling, when it is in fact the arrival of the first predator to land on Earth. So it's not a particularly original story. I do like that it was trying to be a kind of self-contained, small story, not upping the stakes to, a global catastrophe or the predator arrival meaning the absolute destruction of humanity itself. But yeah, I didn't particularly like how unoriginal the story felt. I realized there has to be a motivation for our main character to prove herself as a fine warrior, but it's delivered in a really by-the-numbers way. Like, I literally saw every character that came on screen as just that caricature that you'd find in this kind of storyline. The brother who's respected by the tribe as the true heir to leadership, the traditionalist mother who doesn't want to rock the boat, the friends of the brother who see the sister as an irritating pain in their side. I mean, considering what they could have gone with in regards to Comanche Indians versing the Predator, I really feel like it was an underdeveloped, very kind of lazy way. To the film's credit, however, when it purely focuses on our lead and her hunt to kill the Predator, it's actually pretty good. And actress Amber Midthunder, who is of native Indian descent, does a really good job in selling it. She's got the hunter aesthetics down completely, and it's great to see such a different type of character from Arnold or Danny Glover or Adrian Brody face up against the Predator. I will say, however, the amount of time she does escape the Predator's clutches get really frustrating. The film definitely suffers from plot conveniences where you see the Predator quickly take down a ton of characters in a second, but when it faces her, oh no, I'll just take my time walking towards you and showing off. It just really screams of laziness. Okay, so I'm not a huge fan of how they developed the story, but how did they deal with the action beats? Well, overall, pretty damn well. There's a moment with a bear that's just really visually awesome. I like also that they tried to hide the predator as much as possible in the film earlier on, just to keep some form of suspense. There is a decent amount of gore in the film, but a lot less than I was actually expecting. For some reason they do try to censor a lot of it with fast cuts, which I think was a huge mistake. You watch a Predator film for the gore, and I feel like it's a really bad idea to cut away from such visceral moments. I mean, I may complain about the film Predators, but one thing I can admire about it is they didn't skip out on the viciousness of the gore, but here they seem to really tippy-toe around it, and I'm not entirely sure why. It's not like it was given a theatrical release or anything, so I'm not sure what the creative decision behind this was. For the most part, they really do nail the whole predator element of, well, the predator, if that makes sense. He feels like a ruthless killer who has every intention to kill every creature in that forest, except the main character for some reason. I also really like that since the film is set sometime during the 16th century, the predator in the film is clearly a biologically and technologically different creature from the iconic monster that people know and love. It makes sense with the building up of the universe and really feels like an ancestor to the Predator. A fair warning though, and this may be because of its release on Hulu, but this is a surprisingly cheap looking film. I'm not talking about the cinematography, which I think for a streaming movie is actually quite good, but what I'm talking about is the special effects and CGI. CGI in this film is really, really bad. Like even for 2022 standards. There are many moments that really break the illusion of the film with how shoddy the visual effects are. I don't know what the budget for this film was, and maybe that's an explanation for it, but yeah, it really screams of low budget. If you don't mind that though, fair enough, but there is something distracting about seeing CGI animals that are clearly not in the scene interacting with the characters. And it's a shame as a whole, I feel rather empty after watching this film. Because the general concept is actually quite intriguing. I love the idea of a Comanche Indian woman trying to claim the head of a predator as a token of her warrior status, while the predator does the same with her. But there's just so many plot conveniences and cliches thrown within it. It never really feels like a truly exciting entry into the Predator franchise. It's certainly a lot better than a lot of the other films, but as I said, that's not saying a lot. And I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of pushing myself by the end to finish the film. It's not terrible, but then there's a really good lead performance here with some really cool action sequences sprinkled within. But you gotta get through a lot of cliches to get to the good parts. It's okay, which is why I'm giving it a 5 out of 10. So those are my thoughts on Prey. Do you disagree with my opinion? I know a lot of people really like this film. There's also a lot of haters because of the whole female-centered aspect to the film, which I'm just going to ignore that whole argument. I have absolutely no problem with that. It just, I feel like the way they handled the story just wasn't up to snuff in my opinion. And I would love to hear your thoughts on the movie. What's your favourite Predator film, by the way? Is the Shane Black film really worth finishing? And yeah, thanks for joining in, and I'll see you guys on the next episode. Peace.